So our guest speakers for tonight, Ashley Preece Sackett, her presentation is Warriors for Cannabis. Ashley, I'm really excited that she came down to join us tonight. She's definitely in a leadership role in this industry, someone who I consider a peer and have great respect for, especially considering the fact that she owns a competitive business to mine. It's great to know that there are other women in this industry that I can relate to on that level and have that collaborative energy with. Ashley is the co-founder and director of Cascadia Labs. We really consider Cascadia Labs to be we call them our preferred competitor because we think they do really good work. And we're proud to share the industry with them and work alongside them in the same capacity. She's also the vice chair of the Portland chapter of Women Grow. So I think she's going to have a lot of good information to share with us in regards to women in the cannabis industry. So at this point, I'm going to invite Ashley to come up and share her story with us.
Hi. First of all, I would like to say thank you, Bethany, for inviting me here and hosting this event. It's pretty amazing what you bring to the cannabis industry, and I feel really grateful to not only have you and your team to help support the cannabis industry on an analytical level, but also I really respect what you do on a personal level. So thank you very much. And next I want to say thank you to everyone that's here, because it's the people like this, the people in the room here today, that are paving the path for the industry. We're literally laying tile or bricks and creating a brick road, so to speak, for the industry. People are watching Oregon. People are watching what we're doing, and I think we're doing a great job. We've had some hiccups, and we're definitely learning as we go, but with the implementation of House Bill 3460 in 2013, things really started to shift. So thank you all for doing what you do. I've already met some amazing people in this room, and we're the ones that are pioneering the nation, or the world, so to speak, because we're making huge leaps. We're going to the moon, basically, right now with cannabis, so it's pretty awesome. So thank you all for coming. I'm really nervous. I'm like sweating. So my theme was Warriors of Cannabis, Warriors for Cannabis, and not on a female level, but on a level of just what we're all doing together to create an amazing industry for this plant that we all know is an amazing plant. So listening and learning and collaborating together on what we learn, and then educating after that. So I'm always learning every day, and I try to educate what I can, but a lot of it has to do with all the different aspects of this industry. There's lab owners, there's dispensary owners, there's so much. You can never stop learning and never stop progressing. So being the co-founder of Cascadia Labs, I've worn a lot of hats in the industry, from outreach to horticulture science, to networking. I do Women Grow networking events, as well as OCA events and some other industry kind of side fun projects, which we'll be having more of those through Cascadia in the future, some science-based things, which we have some really fun things planned coming up, so stay tuned. And then clean green, I also do clean green inspections with the horticulture degree that I have, so that keeps me a little bit with my hands on cannabis, whereas in the lab, it's really taken me out of my passion of horticulture and into more of an analytical space. But now as we've expanded, I'm able to step back a little bit and focus on horticulture. And I have to say that on a woman note, being a woman in the past when I did grow cannabis, being a woman grower was a unique thing, because it was it was kind of a pissing contest. And I feel like more and more and more, it's becoming an acceptable thing for a woman to have an amazing grow. So that's pretty cool too. Thank you. So my first experience with a cannabis plant was probably much like a lot of people in here. I started experimenting at a very young age. Not very young, that was aggressive. At a young age. And I couldn't really figure out why this plant was so demonized. And so my relationship with the plant has blossomed because of my experiences, and it's taken me to a place in the industry that I never would have imagined. So to me, this plant is more than just a tool for the human species for health and for the planet. There's more. It goes way deeper than that. It's symbiosis. It's this. It's like a biological phenomenon that we have induced with this plant. For 200 years, we have been breeding this plant and finding the best qualities in it and breeding it into this, from a weed to this beautiful species, and it has done for us the same thing. We have this endocannabinoid system and our receptors. We've symbiotically created this amazing plant for our species, and that's pretty exciting because we can say that cannabis loves us too. Like if a plant could speak, which I kind of consider myself a plant translator, that's what it would tell us. I love you too. Like, thank you for bringing me here. Like, this is what I was put here for. So the whole, like when you think of the whole cannabis industry, I like to like get back to the roots and remember the reason that we're all here. So I grew up on a small farm in Idaho where cannabis was not okay. And I found myself encountering instances where consumption was jeopardized. I couldn't, there was constantly like things that came up living in Idaho that I couldn't understand why people didn't understand. I went to school at Boise State University and I got my horticulture science degree in 2004, and I knew exactly what I was gonna do. After I graduated, I moved to Humboldt and I started growing. I did both indoor and outdoor, mainly sustainable organic practices, although I did have some instances where I tried other products, not gonna lie. And I learned a lot really fast, but I knew that wasn't the place for me. I knew that there was a little bit more farther of a stretch for me to go. It was like too much of a stopping point, and this was like 10 years ago, so you knew that the industry was still going somewhere further than just growing in your basement or growing in your, back closet. And so I took my education, and now I use horticulture for the Clean Green program. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with that. And I'm gonna read it because it's from their website, and I think it's just worded very, very eloquently. Where am I? So they say that the Clean Green certification process is a qualified third-party, non-conflicted agricultural certification program, and it supports sustainable practices and environmental stewardship, and I think that's just on point. And I feel that there's much more that can be implemented with the organic side of cannabis, and I think Clean Green is on a good path to supporting that, but I think that could be expanded exponentially. I think there's a whole nother level that organic certification and Clean Green certification doesn't fully support on, because this plant is a lot different than any other organic plant that you're certifying. There's the endocannabinoid system that is super receptive to it. So I think that it's amazing to think of the different possibilities with that. So after collaborating with my partner, Jeremy Sackett, and he has an extensive FDA background in pharmacology, which was obviously super beneficial for opening a lab. We we decided to open the doors to Cascadia, it's a cannabis-centric QC testing research facility. Contaminant control, active ingredient characterizations, QC testing, basically cannabis-centric, but we've discussed opening up to other botanical services. If we have the equipment, why not open the door to that? But by layering on advanced microbiology and inorganic expertise, Cascadia Labs will rapidly become one of the most sophisticated cannabis-centric groups in the country. I've used my passion and my drive for this plant to make sure that our mission that we started with is always apparent. And as a woman in the industry, I've noticed it's very beneficial to be open and honest about what you're doing and what you want to be doing with the work that you do every day. People really respect you when you look at them in the eye and talk to them about what your wants are and what their wants are, and doing that together. I think that's really important for me, and what I've accomplished. I feel that that's a huge thing, is collaborating and staying solid as a unity instead of all these separate entities. Hence, Bethany inviting me here today. Like, that's what it's all about. It's not about, at the end of the day, what you want to bring home. It's about the plant and the patients. And for me, it's huge. And it's been helping so far. So our mission was, and it still is to improve the well-being of local and global community members by delivering industry-leading services that enhance the safety, efficacy, and the value of cannabis products. So we launched in 2013 in Bend, and very quickly our 1,200 square foot facility was too small. And we've had to expand since then up into Portland. We had no idea that the integrity would take us so far so fucking fast. It was like a freight train. And we've always stuck to our guns with our morals and our standards. And being a small mom and pop startup, it's been quite the ride to be here now and have our flagship facility in Portland opening up. March 1st, we will be fully operational, so that's really exciting. Thank you. We've also stayed very active in the rulemaking process. Jeremy, since day one, has been at almost every OHA meeting during the dispensary program, and now he's working very closely with OLCC for the adult choice consumption. We also try to stay active on the federal level. We've both gone with different groups to Washington, D.C. to lobby for banking and taxation purposes. I was just having a conversation earlier today about taxing and how beneficial it is when you think of like the very small things you don't really think about on a daily basis. But a friend of mine had mentioned that buses in Arizona don't have air conditioning and it's 215 degrees. If we had some sort of taxation, money could go to the schools, like we've seen in Colorado. Was it $70,000 was raised for schools in Colorado from cannabis? That's pretty fucking amazing. And the more we can educate and show that, like wave that flag around and show other states that this is what could benefit, and that's just a small part of it, it's just amazing what can happen. And I think we all have to keep pushing forward and educating and using the right tools that we have in our box to help put this plant in the limelight where it should have been since the very beginning. But then Reefer Madness started and shit just got weird. So while in Washington, D.C., I do have to say that many of the men, they were mostly men. I think I met with one woman representative out of the 15, but they were all really receptive. A lot of them didn't know even where their state was. They were asking us questions, which was interesting, but they were very receptive, and I found that really, it felt good at the end of the day to think like they're actually listening. They might not want to do anything about it yet, but at least they're listening and asking questions. They were asking pretty basic questions, but still they were asking questions. And I think that's a huge step for cannabis in the industry. So just keep pushing forward. So my vision for the future is to establish my business as the leader for this collaborative movement to enhance the quality of the cannabis medical products. And personally, to always stick to my guns and your gut. You know what the right thing is to do. You know what is supposed to be happening with this plant. In a perfect world, it wouldn't be regulated, but it has to be because of our history. And I think that as we stay together and collaborate and progress and educate, we can lead the way in the entire nation and the entire world. So let's do it. Thank you. In 2004, we started I started growing cannabis, learning, researching, and then in 2004 we launched. So, yeah. Anybody else?
So do you have a legal team in your business?
A legal advisor? Absolutely. So whenever we make trips to DC, it's usually with a group of people, and the last 2 times we've gone was with the Oregon Cannabis Association, which is based out of Portland, and it's representatives, dispensary owners, chefs, growers from across the state, and we all have, Emerge Law Group has actually been helping kind of guide our, they kind of put the package trip together. So we do have attorneys and points and guidance for sure. Class A, that's a great subject. And honestly, I don't know enough about that to divulge, but as far as banking and taxation goes, I mean, it's obvious, black and white. I've had 3 banks in 3 years. Getting a phone call from your credit union saying that they can't support you and you have 2 days to get your money out is very disheartening. You can usually talk them into maybe till the end of the month, but to me it's affected I couldn't get a merchant service. I had to use a Square and plug it into my phone for a year and a half. So I'm trying to be this professional and I'm swiping a card on my Square. In this industry that's already a little bit black, gray. So it's really disheartening. And so moving forward on that was really important to me. As far as declassification, I don't see that happening. This is all speculation, but I don't see that happening 2 years at the least. I would say 5 years, more like 7. I would say 7's a good number.
When you started your business and you sat down and did your first financial documents, can you explain to some of the women here what steps you had to go through to find an avenue for your business and really sit down and be realistic?
That's a great question. The first thing I would have to say to that is that, first of all, you can't get a fucking loan, no matter what. They look at you like you're crazy. And I think we talked to one banker and they were like, you do what? So that's probably the hardest hurdle is a loan. But now, it was all family. Mm-hmm. There were 3 people involved, 3 partners, yeah. And so that made it, easy. We didn't have to go find, a business partner that we hadn't met yet or that we had to create this relationship with. And then after that, it was really about projection, which was hard to do. Yeah. We were off on a lot of things. We were way off. A lot of the anticipation that we saw never happened and vice versa. It was probably the hardest 4 years of adulting in my life, besides being a parent. But yeah, and having outsourcing advice, like you need to pay a professional. Don't have your friend tell you how to start your business. You need to go in and find a professional, preferably a cannabis one that's already in the industry because they've already experienced the scary things that we hear about. So I think paying the right people and not trying to do everything on your own. Yeah, you're welcome.
How many people here attended the online 2-day conference, greenflowermedia.com, this past weekend? Okay, great. I want to say that they are going to be doing online classes, and there's a place in Portland called, it's called Jesky Horton. It's a male, Jesce Horton, and his company, his organization is Minority Cannabis Business Association. Minority Cannabis Business. 2 years ago, he left the world of robots to work on cannabis. And he is minorities, including women and low-income people, helping them get into the cannabis field. And finally, I want to say I'm on the advisory committee of Oregon Tilth. And the most recent issue that's not even on the stands yet is all about women in farming. And I encourage all of you to write tilth.org, tilth.org, and ask them to start certifying organic cannabis for adult use, medicinal, and hemp. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That's a great piece of information. I thought I was done.
Well, thank you for everything you do and for coming and talking to us. Women Grow Lobby Days is coming up next month, right? Can you tell us about that?
So I am not going to be involved in that too much. I can't attend the event because I'm a mama. But it's basically, it started off as a small idea between the chapter chair ladies, and it was just kind of like, well, we should go, lobby one day. Okay, why not? So it started as this, and it's turned into everybody is very interested and wants to be a part of it and has a big opinion, which I think is fantastic. Like, that's what we want. We want people to speak up about their issues and their wants and needs. And we've created this, we've tried to keep it to 4 to 6 bullets to, get our point across, because you don't want to expand on too many items where you lose your impact. So deciding on those topics, it's been a really long process of emails back and forth. And I've kind of been watching, but I've let Leah kind of take the lead on that. So I think if you want to get more involved there, I think there's an email chain that I know Sarah Duff is on about dates and topics and stuff. She's here. Hi, Sarah. Okay, am I done? Was that good? I don't have too much information on that. I'm sorry. Okay. Done. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ashley.